Thanks for joining us, Scott. I'm Mike. That's other Scott up there. Welcome to the
Mike,
show.
Mike and Scott. Hey, my pleasure.
What's going on, man? How are you?
Hey,
Good.
Uh, let's start off with like, kind of give us a breakdown. I know, like early on in life, you were like in like a barbershop kind of quartet kind of group early on. Was it big where you were at? Did you know about it? Or did it just find you? How did you get into that type of singing?
I really wasn't. Well, in high school, there was a barbershop quartet. I grew up in Indiana. Um, so that's the only time I ever did really anything barbershop. But I loved vocal music. My mother's record collection from the 40s and 50s, like the Mills Brothers and Crew Cuts and all kinds of vocal music. I loved her 45s. Um, and then the Beach Boys, all kind of male harmony that like I discovered Endless Summer record, Beach Boys, when I was in high school. And Bread, there's a group called Bread that was my mother had records of. And then when I in the 70s, like Manhattan Transfer and um, groups like that. I've always loved harmony, backups, uh, vocal music, singing like that. Uh, and then in high school, there was an opportunity. I sang in the choir or the choral groups, but then we had like four of us sang like in a barbershop quartet. And then I went to Disney and sang at Disney World in different groups. Like they have a great group there at Epcot called the Voices of Liberty, which is
Hmm.
amazing harmony group. Sang sub for that and sang with a group similar in the Magic Kingdom there. And then went to Tokyo Disneyland, mostly as a soloist, singing with a rock band. Got a record deal in Japan, but always wanted to live in New York City and still love the harmony stuff. So joined with Rockapella, which the Japanese record deal I got, we got another record deal in Japan for Rockapella because in America, even though we were doing this TV show, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, record companies and radio didn't know what to do with a cappella music,
Hmm.
even contemporary, because we were the first kind of contemporary a cappella group to kind of break through. So Japan loved the concept, and we have had records every year in Japan while we didn't have anything in America. But then finally, our other greatest hit besides Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego was The Best Part of Waking Up is Folgers in Your Cup. We did that street corner radio ad, and then we did a TV ad. And there was so much exposure from that finally record companies answered our calls or called us, and we finally started releasing records globally because of our two commercial greatest hits.
Now, is it true that you went to school on a baseball scholarship?
It's true. I grew up in Indiana, but I went to University of Tampa
Well, what
for
position
the
were you?
I was pitcher, left-handed pitcher,
Nice. Now,
outfield.
was there ever a time this voice passion and like baseball passion like combined with each other, or like was that like two completely different worlds?
I'd say it's too well. Sometimes we do the national anthem, but back in it, but
Like,
no,
did the guys on your team know how good of singer you were? Or was that like a secret of yours?
I think they probably knew what it's in high school. You're not really positioning yourself for stardom or anything, but um, it was pretty separate. Actually, I wanted, I think growing up in Indiana, I really loved Florida. Like spending vacations down there and just the sun and the lifestyle. So I think it was like I'm just want to go to University of Tampa to like go to the pool. So but I started playing baseball there, and one thing or another went played tennis instead to keep the money because I was kind of burnt out on baseball because
Hmm.
the AU season in the summer, like 60 games. And then I got to UT, University of Tampa, and the coach was a real bear, just like my high school coach was. And I was like, oh God. So the tennis team really needed, and I played tennis my whole life. So I played tennis that first year, but then I got a music scholarship after that. I don't think I ever realized or admitted that music or singing was actually a legitimate choice for a career, but I sort of ping ponged in or pinballed into working. and here I am.
Mm. So, what was the transition to Japan? I know you worked at Disney. What was it something like linear where you can go to somebody, hey, I would like to go over to Tokyo? Was that just legitimately you wanted to go on your own? How did that come about?
It was completely an odd. Well, working at Disney World, my wife and I were both performers there, and the casting for Tokyo Disneyland went through the Disney World casting. So just the opportunity was presented to us to go as a couple and live in a house over there and work there. We did that for 2 contracts, 2 years in a row, and it was such a great experience. I really took to Japan. I sang with a Japanese rock band, so was immersed in the language and made an effort to learn the language and just the culture. And growing up in Midwestern Indiana, so mind opening to go to Japan, especially just their approach to life. And it was a great thing. It turned to be commercially a great thing too with the record deal. And then for Rockapella, it turned out to be a great thing as well.
Now, would you sing in Japanese? Is it, I'm kind of curious if you do, is it just like easy, linear, kind of, yeah, I know this language, I can sing in that, or do you have to like change things around to sing Japanese?
Japanese is an easy language to sing because it's made up of syllables. There's no variation in like the spelling or the pronunciation of stuff. It's always the same. It's just syllables that are they don't change. It's always the same. So in Disney, I just sang pop songs like it was American pop music. It was an American record rock band. But then with Rockapella, we did a few songs in Japanese because I could speak it. Um, and it was it's like singing Italian or German
Mm.
or anything. It's just you try to learn the message of what you're singing about. It's an interesting language, Japanese. It's grammatically, it's backwards and it's simpler grammatically. It's like you don't have to say the dog has run, the dog is running, the dog will run. You just say dog run, and then you assume the context will mean they can understand what you're talking about, if that
When
makes any
you
sense.
when you come back and there's this Carmen Sandiego show. Now I remember the show. I remember the game, like a game on the PC, and I remember it had like a million discs to load it into the computer, and I remember it being really extremely difficult. But I don't remember the necessary order of was it show first, cartoon first, game first? Like was Carmen Sandiego like established before you joined it, or was this a brand new concept?
I believe it was established. I believe it was at
Okay,
first a computer game.
right.
It was a computer game that people knew, and PBS, WGBH, and WQED, Boston and Pittsburgh had the idea to make a show out of it. And then I don't think there was a I don't know if the cartoon. I think the cartoon maybe came after the game
Okay.
show, but I'm not sure about that. But there was definitely a Broderbund computer game that the show is based upon.
Mm.
So um, yeah, I just stepped right into it because when I joined Rockapella, they the guy before me was getting in his going to law school, and so they needed somebody quickly, and I came to New York. Had been living in Japan, but came into New York to meet with the guys, and we agreed to work together. And the TV show started right away. And that first, I'll tell you, the first like 1991 was. It's all been downhill since because we it was like, we're doing Madison Square Garden with Billy Joe. We're doing Whoopi Goldberg HBO special, MTV Video Awards, the Tonight Show New Year's Eve with Jay Leno, and it was like and a Japanese record deal and Folgers, and it was a lot early on. It was a big splash, but
Mm.
we've managed to stretch it out for 30 years.
Now, the initial like tryout, out of curiosity, was it just pure, hey, let's try you singing out with the group, or was there also the TV element in there? Because you guys, even like looking back, I saw you were in so many skits and costumes, had to
Yeah,
play characters and so forth. Was it all just the music part they were worried about, or did they need to know, okay, you can be a TV personality as well?
just the
And
music. The other stuff. Barry the bass and I had experienced acting and handling dialogue and stuff like that. But the other guys, it was just about singing. They sent me some songs, arrangements of theirs to learn, and then we got together in New York and sang a little bit and decided right there to do it. But then the way the show was structured, we really didn't have any idea. We just it was a lot of work uh, arranging all because they would change the lyrics to popular songs, and then we would perform them and give the clue to whatever the question was in the game show.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of work, but the acting stuff, I think they discovered, oh, some of these guys can do this, so let's put them to work.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like,
the
I know
dying performance.
clearly it's a lot of work. What was like the work demand to do that show? Were you guys filming every week? Did you come in for a season at a time, or like what?
Yeah.
How often were you working on that?
I want to say it was like one season is 64 episodes, maybe. We would shoot it all in 6 weeks,
Oh,
like
wow.
in June and July. And then the first year, because the show was made up of three sections, you had the front game, which was like
Yep.
Jeopardy, kind of what you ask. And then you had the middle game, which was concentration, where they had to match things that would flip over on a board. And then the last game would be where they would run around maps trying to locate
Mhm.
places. So the first year, you did it, they would do shows straight through where you would go from the front and you go to the middle but then they got smart and realized, oh, we can just do this in sections. Like Rockapella can film all their clues in the first week or two, like 30 songs, like so
Yeah.
a lot of work for us, like the first 2 weeks. And then we would just be sitting around because we'd go in there and they would show the tape of what we had filmed the thing, or that we would, so it was really easy after that. But um, it was a really intense 6 weeks, but then the whole year would be done.
Mm. Go ahead, Tim.
No, I was gonna say, like, you mentioned like it started so high. Like, do you get jealous now? Like, you see like social media, there's so much like a cappella stuff out there, and kids are able to, there's all these who's singing this and these videos blowing up. And like, do you ever think about like what Rockapella could have done with like a tool like whatever, Instagram or face? Like, there's so many
Yeah,
things that people are playing with their voices and doing
yeah, right.
arrangements.
That's the thing. The funny thing about acapella is that the hurdle used to always be you've got to be in tune, and it's not easy for 4 or 5 people to blend and be in tune and sound pleasant to people to listen to. So it was we had that, so we were real successful there in the 90s until auto tune came, and then anybody can
Mm.
sound good. Anybody can sound good.
Yeah.
Anybody can group can sound. Now you see them live if they're not using auto tune live, which they have as well. So that's kind of funny. But no, I'm not jealous at all about it. I've never felt proprietary about contemporary a cappella, but a lot of people
Mhm.
still recognize rockapella and realize that it was kind of the first one to go there.
Yeah.
Mm.
But before us, there was a group called the Nylons, which I really liked, and they were from Canada, but they were contemporary. They had, I think they had a drum machine as well, maybe playing along, but rockapella wasn't the very first. I thought
No,
the
yeah.
Nylons kind of were, but we were the first to kind of break through.
Mm. Out of curiosity, how good was your geographic knowledge? Like, were you ever singing a clue and like turn to somebody like, what's Morocco? I've never heard of this.
Or pretty much every clue was like, "What's Morocco?" I did not retain any good geographic skills from that show. I must not have been paying attention or something. I mean, I would I would do these clues they called the word on the street sometimes, where I would explain something, and it was very verbose, very wordy. And so I was really good at cramming short-term memory stuff because I had emceed nightclub shows and like where I would remember birthdays and anniversaries and stuff like that. So then it's gone, then that memory is out of my brain. So I would learn these scripts for this 1 minute clue, and then it would be out of my brain. So just cram it, film it, learn it. But I didn't retain much geographic information, unfortunately.
Mm. When did you know you guys were kind of like blowing up? Because it's when you talk about like a PBS show, everybody, Mr. Rogers and
Yeah,
Sesame Street, like it's not known for like, oh, here's this new thing. But when did you know like, oh, people are watching this and people know our voices now?
that's a good question because there's a very specific time. We were kind of a Northeast tri-state area cult following act in the early 90s when the show started. And so we would play all over New York and people knew Rockapella, but beyond that, we didn't have any call to get, we didn't get calls from wherever to go play. But the show started and we got invited to play an outdoor show in Utah. So we're like, sure, we'll go there. Why not? You're paying, we'll go. So we go and we started doing the song Carmen Sandiego, and started it off with, there's one more thing you have to do. You know what it is. Do it, Rockapella. You know, like that.
Yeah.
And there were 5,000 Utah people singing, do it, Rockapella. We were like, holy shit. This is,
Yeah.
that's it. That's when it started.
That's kind of funny thing before Scott says the question. Like when I booked you, I always like to make sure, hey, do you know this guest? And I'm like, Scott, do you watch Carmen Sandiego? And literally the text 2 seconds later, do it, Rockapella.
Yeah.
That was really a good idea. I think Sean's idea was, or I'm to say that every show or before the theme song. So that was a really good calling card from that. It has been always ever since.
Now, with all things that are successful, they are always attempted to be brought back in some in some iteration. You know, I feel
Yeah.
like nothing ever goes away. Every 10 years, we see a reboot of some movie that we grew up on, and you know,
Yeah,
Ninja
sure.
Turtles have been out 57 times.
Yeah.
Was there any push down, like eventually, to bring back Carmen Sandiego and bring you guys back and a new, you know, I don't know, new view of the show at any point?
Not that I know of.
Really?
I don't think so. We did the show for 5 seasons or 6 seasons,
Hmm.
and then they did a show after that called Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego, which didn't last.
Gotcha.
But I think they tried to move on like that. But ever since, no, I think a lot of the geographic information is out of date because they talk about playing reruns of our show, but a lot of it's out of date for the geographic stuff because it changes so much. But so I'm not sure if you could do it or not. But
Yeah,
no,
you
no,
just
never
no
calls.
more.
Can't you do like a geriatric version of Carmen Sandiego?
When ca- the show goes away, Rockapella is still a group. What was kind of like the time, like as you're like the last of the original group from the show? Like, was it all always just, you know what? Hey, good run. I gotta do this. Was it? I'm hoping there is no like VH1 behind the music where Rockapella like start punching each other. But like, when was it where you like, oh, I'm the last guy remaining?
See, you're
Oh yeah,
hoping there's not one. I'm praying there is one that I haven't
yeah,
seen. That
right.
sounds great.
And I hope they're singing like their anger. I'll stab you with a knife.
I like that line. That's a good line. Um, no, let's see. The show, Sean, Sean was a tall guy with braid. Like we were kind of a hair band in the early 90s. Like Sean had the shortcut with the braids, the blonde braids, and then Barry had one big long braid, and I had like big ass hair. And so, but Sean, maybe right after the show ended, he decided to leave the group, which is a surprise to everybody, to pursue his own stuff. So it kind of started to take a different direction. I always thought it could be a little more R&B centered. So the choice was, well, do we go on? Because Sean was such a big part of our group. Do we go on as Rockapella? Do we change the name? Do we? So we said, well, Rockapella is a really good brand, and we'll just see what we can do. Because Sean and I were the main writers and arrangers, so I just took over more of the load and found Kevin, who was a friend of mine from Disney, Florida Days, and great voice. And we just moved on. And then we got the Folgers commercial right away, which helped. And then the new iterations of Rockapella, ever since we've been able to find somebody that's really great for that slot and kind of drive it more. There's more staging, there's more R&B, there's more contemporary nature than sort of a novelty barbershop vibe in the early days. That's went from that to being more kind of what it is now, where we do pop stuff, got our own kind of style that people's pretty um, recognizable for people that Rockapella sounds like this.
You
But
know,
then
you
then so Sean left like right after the show. That probably five years went by. And then Barry retired, and Elliot moved on, and so just but each time you lose somebody, it's kind of a rebranding, and it's kind of you're able to put somebody in that's got the talents that make it better.
You know, we're talking about you know your group success, but you also have a lot of solo success. You have, I think it was 6 solo albums, and Tokyo Robots and
Probably so.
whatnot.
Uh-huh.
As far as the dynamic of being a solo artist or group artist, like how does that change for you? And do you prefer one or the other? Like, are you a control freak when it comes to the solo stuff and more open when it comes to group stuff? What's your dynamic there?
That's the thing with acapella, one man acapella. You don't have to be a control freak.
Yeah.
You are the only element. So yeah, it may be taking it a bit too far, but I love both. It's fun. I every day I make music in the morning, and whether it's for and now I kind of dadager manager my kids. They have an act, Natalie Leonard and Jesse Leonard. Jesse's a EDM DJ in Brooklyn and a great drummer, and so he plays for his sister Natalie. She's a performer, and so I'm kind of the energy has slid over to the dadager part of
Yep.
stuff. But I make music every day, and whether it's for Rockapella or for Natalie, my daughter, or for whatever project it is. Um, so it's fun to have both. I think Rockapella was so busy and close in the 90s. It was good to have an outlet where you didn't have to compromise about the song choices for an album, or we definitely butted heads, but it was never anything scandalous, but disagreements come up. You want your song to be the first song on the record,
Yeah, yeah.
or you think this song should be done this way, or so. Um, Group dynamics are always a part of it, and still are. But also, in the early days we were just four guys. There wasn't vocal percussion involved. It was just four guys. And then we got Jeff Thatcher, went through a few choices, but Jeff Thatcher, who's been with us ever since too, he's been around and contributing since 90, early now, he's been 30 years. So I'm not the only guy who has to carry on the tradition.
I heard in an interview you said for a while you guys tried to stay away from like the newer music doing it a cappella style just because everybody was doing it, but then you kind
Yeah.
of grew to it. I'm kind of curious, what is like the craziest thing that you guys can do a cappella? Is there like some like Finnish death metal or battle rap or something like that that you guys
Yeah.
pulled out where everybody's like, whoa, I didn't think that could a cappella?
I think there's one good example there's probably a few, but the most intense arrangement we've ever done is something I call Bach v. Beethoven. It's like if you look it up, you can probably find it on whatever. But it's a fugue by Bach done a cappella,
Hmm.
and then it goes into Beethoven. But it's really quite intense. I'll have to send it to you or send you a link that you can play it for this show because it's the most challenging parts to sing that we've probably ever done. And then there's someone called where I mix Uptown Funk with Rapper's Delight, the hip hop hippity, the hippity
Yep.
hip. Put those two together. That one's pretty intense as well. I'd say those two are the most sort of ambitious a cappella arrangements that we've tried.
I saw you once teased a like a holiday show where one of us will be performing without pants. Um, well,
That's every holiday.
what was that all about? And did someone actually perform without pants?
I'm not familiar with that promotion. I don't think I think I've always performed with pants.
Yeah.
Let me think. Pants may have fallen down inadvertently, but I don't think I think pants have always, I don't recall ever seeing the Rockapella ass chap.
I did see you guys. It looks like you did a Zoom with like the old school guys and tried to do it. And I saw there were some struggles there. Was that during COVID?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you try to sing together on Zoom, but
Yeah.
there's delay, like
Mhm.
micro delay it's impossible.
Yep.
So when we would do those, we did a few recordings where we'd have to like, I'd have to record the parts so everybody sing on their own at their place, sing their part to match the arrangement, because you can't do it live. There's delays. It's hilarious.
You know, it's funny. We talked to so many artists on here from every avenue of music. Like we had Halloween on recently, and here's this guy Andy still singing like falsetto metal, you know, in German, and he's able to. He sounds amazing still, and I feel like artists have definitely like we're seeing older artists like figuring out how to take care of themselves these days and like
Yeah.
take care of their voice. All these bands are back and still sounding like amazing. Like I'm curious, you as someone whose voice is everything, like how have you do you have a routine or anything that kind of keeps your voice active, your voice the way it's kind of always been, or do you find it harder these days?
Yeah. Um, I do notice now that it starts to go away more quickly if I don't sort of warm up frequently. And the fact that I'm working on music most days
Well,
keeps me a little bit limber. But if we got a show coming up like next week, I'll start kind of going through the show, just singing through it every other day, just to try to get, because I sing abnormally high. I have the really high
yep.
parts. And so it doesn't, I mean, when I hear recordings of me like in early 90s, I'm like, whoa, the pipes. You know, it's definitely, I have the notes. They don't sound quite as rich and full as they did 30 years ago, I think. But I've always kind of gone for a Stevie Wonder sound where that's that kind of piercing kind of tone on top where it's really ringy and tight. I still have that. But when I went to college for a vocal performance degree, voice degree, and I came out of college with, even though I love pop music, there was a little bit more legit kind of sound to my sound and to the way I produce the sound. I didn't really like that, so I've always kind of striven to be more Stevie and less theater. You know, I don't want to be like that, and I've always kind of fought that. But now I'm definitely more Stevie and less bel canto, rich operatic sound.
Yeah, because the last thing we want to see is like, you know, Rockapella sounding like Vince Neil does in these recent clips that are coming out.
Yeah, if that happens, then we can just stop.
Scott, I want to really thank you for
You're
giving us
welcome.
some time today. No,
Oh.
the other
Oh.
Scott. I know. You get enough thanks and all, but
Where are you guys located?
I am in Douglasville, Georgia. Scott is in Denville, New Jersey, where I used to hang out.
Oh, okay. Beautiful.
But yeah, but I want to really thank you for the time and all. It's great just reminiscing and all about the earlier days and all. Carmen Sandiego is one of them shows that just resonates. And the second I just listen to clips, I'm just immediately back into my like early teen days and all, just enjoying everything. So if anybody wants to know what you're up to, Rockapella, any other projects, where are the best places to go?
Well, for Rockapella, go to rockapella.com. And for Scott Leonard, there's a scottleonardmusic.com website, which is kind of an archive of like the hundreds of arrangements and songs I've done. It lives there. People go there to license it and to check it out and just kind of reminisce or just see what my recipe for acapella fun, or well, actually there's stuff that's there that's not acapella as well. It's just dance music and all kinds of stuff. It's like 500 pieces of music. I started thinking, what should I, how would I represent what Scott Leonard does on? I don't really want to do like a Scott, hey, come see me at the dive bar.
Yeah.
Just kind of like saying, this is there. I've worked a lot on music on acapella. Here's what's there. Check it out. Maybe you'll be inspired to do something yourself. So scottleonardmusic.com is there and rockapella.com.
What about your kids' stuff too? Might as well throw that out there too.
Yeah,
Where we find them.
there's definitely links to Natalie Leonard music and Jesse Leonard music. Jesse's DJ name is Drummy in Brooklyn. He plays the underground scene and the regular scene as well. So yeah, if you go to scottleonardmusic.com, you can link to those guys.
And usually this is the part where I do final question. I do a silly question, but I just want to tell you, like, funny, like as we started setting up this interview, I was having issues with your one email address, and I was like telling Scott how, man, I was talking to him, then all of a sudden we're like the email's not working. And we were on a spree for a moment where we thought you were ghosting us, and we figured like you guys do a thing called Carmen Sandiego where it just you
Carmen
start talking to us.
Sandiegos.
Yeah, I'm gonna show up, and then you just like turn off the email and like, ha ha, ha got away
Yeah,
again.
Figure
I'm
out
in
how to find them.
Yugoslavia.
That's a good idea. Carmen Sandiego.
You better copyright that. That's gonna get taken quick.
Yep.
Scott, thank you so much for your time. We wish you good luck and love to talk to you again in the future.
Great talking to you guys. Thanks for having me.